I hate when I feel like I have to do videos like this, but sometimes like it's not just about Transformers and all the usual stuff that I talk about. Like there's this channel is me, and when something happens, it deeply affects me because it is rooted in my nostalgia and my childhood. I'm going to use this platform to get thoughts off of my chest. And in this case, yeah, this hurts. This hurts a lot. So, yeah, 24 hours after we found out we lost Dolly Parton, we find out we also lost Tim Curry, both at the age of 80. And I'm I'm not handling this well. Oh my god. This man was a fixture of my childhood. You know, this it's one of those he was one of those voices that my brain just connected to as many times as I watch shows where I watch all these different cartoons as a kid growing up, and all so many of them have the same voice actors in them, and I never connected any of them except for a few. There's only a few voices stuck out. Scott McNeil's was one of them. He was the first, but Tim Curry's right behind that. I could tell that I've heard this voice before. You know, it's how my brain put together like what voice acting was. So yeah, you'll excuse me if I forego my usual format, my intros, my usual topics, and can I just get some memories out? Can I just like talk Tim Curry memories with you guys just for a few minutes? For those and for those who might like uh be curious, no, this video is not monetized. I've done a few memorial videos. I've done a few in remembrance videos. None of them are ever monetized. I don't want to make a dime off this. I just want to share stories. I just want to share memories. So, growing up, I didn't see a lot of his live action movies. Of course, a lot of them I was too young for. But like even as a kid, like I do remember seeing Rocky Horror Picture Show. Like they would air on Comedy Central, and I would get to watch it from time to time. I mean, and I don't understand the themes as a child. I don't understand, the allegories going on as a kid. But I mean, it is what it is. It is loud, vibrant. It is exactly what would capture my attention. And yeah, I need to go watch it again. I honestly have not seen it in a very long time, all the way through. So I need to go watch it again now that I'm like old enough to understand all of the like meanings and actual stories behind it. There are a lot of movies that I didn't see, but they were things he had picked up on. And they were just like snuck into pop culture. Like how like around the schoolyard, you knew who Freddy Krueger was, even though none of us were old enough to get into an R-rated movie. In the same way, we knew about Pennywise, and the first like scary clown, and most of us could remember. I I take a lot of I take a lot of solace in knowing that like this, even though they have done like remakes of it's still Curry's performance that sticks out the most. I know it's not the most marketed version, but even the new one is mostly aping what he created in the first place, or like what he portrayed in the first place. They want to be Tim Curry. I like think a lot of people want to be Tim Curry, but yeah, you don't like even as a kid, like I didn't get to watch the movie, but you still knew him. You still knew that role, still knew how good it was. And that goes for the same as the Lord of Darkness from Legend. This was my view of the devil. Like when someone even mentioned anything devil, Satan, anything like that, I thought of Tim Curry's depiction, and shout out to the man for having to keep those horns held up by his neck for all of that movie. And again, it is just the portrayal of it. These characters are super dramatic, super over the top, and even cheesy. And he seems to revel in roles like that. He seems to have fun doing whatever it is he's doing. Things like Muppet Treasure Island, for instance, being Long John Silver. Oh my God, he looks like he's having fun. Oh, he looks like he is having fun the entire time. I mean, you get to be a pirate around Muppets. Why wouldn't you be having fun? And actually, like looking through his IMDb a little bit, he had a lot of roles as pirates or pirate akin things. He enjoyed that type of portrayal, that type of character. Yeah. And like if I'm talking like live action, but just because like I said, I didn't see too much of his live action work. But if we're gonna end off on anything in that section, I have to end off on Clue. As a kid, I did like this movie, though it was always like one of those like Comedy Central movies that ran all the time, and I would always be I would catch it flipping through channels, and I didn't realize how this movie was structured. So as a kid, it was always super confusing. It felt like there was actually a series of movies that I had been missing in like the Clue franchise. And I just happened to just pop into a different one every time because it's the same characters, but like the resolution is completely different. I never watched it all the way through until I was an adult, and that's when you appreciate the genius of it. And then you found out that depending on what showing you went to, any one of those were the proper ending. They just had to choose one definitive one for the home video release. This is a brilliant movie. And it's the kind of movie that you need someone like a Tim Curry to be able to carry. Absolutely fantastic performance. If I do any kind of like memorial watching tonight or sometime over the week, it's Clue. I'm gonna dig up a copy of Clue and I'm gonna give it a full watch. See, I know Tim Curry mostly from being a voice actor because it's not enough that he does characters like Frankenfurter and Pennywise, and he's an icon of pop culture. But he was also very much a fan of doing animation. Actually, like the bulk of the TV shows that he starred on was animation. Now, I think like Nigel from Wild Thornberries is probably like the most prominent, the most well known. I will admit, I have not seen much of the Wild Thornberries because that came like after I had stopped watching Nicktoons. It's like, um, my taste in cartoons tended more toward the action variety than the Nickelodeon comedy variety. But it's hard to avoid. You know who he is. He's memed all over the place. It's impossible to escape Nigel. That means a lot. And it means a lot because like that is how you keep someone's memory alive, right? It's like those constant reminders. And in media in like in modern internet culture, memes do keep people alive. They keep people in your memory. And not thanks to Nigel being such an over the top portrayal, yeah, like people are gonna remember Tim Curry forever. He's always going to be around. See, if we get into ones that I know better, I think the first time I ever heard Tim Curry animated was Hexus from Fern Gully. Um, yeah, Toxic Love is one of those songs that'll pop into my head once in a while. Just like when my brain is doing nothing better, like, oh hey, you remember that one movie where like the smog clown was singing sexy? Like, okay. Yeah, yes, brain. I remember that now. Um, again, and I'm gonna say this through all this. You can hear it that he is having fun. Like, especially the more scene chewy he gets to be. Oh, does he sound like he is having fun? We'll get to those. We'll get to those. More than I remember. Um, Mal from Captain Planet. It's Mal was always weird because it was like a much more like because he's a computer, so he's not as emotive as Tim Curry usually is, but that also shows a range. He can dial it back, he can control himself, and obviously he does. he did serious roles from time to time as well. It's not all campy, cheesy characters, So this is kind of in that vein, and I liked seeing different takes on him. We had Taurus Bulba from Darkwing Duck. Now, this is not a major character technically in that franchise. It's not Quacker Jack, it's not Bushroot or, like Megavolt. It's not any of the big name villains that he had that kept recurring. Taurus Bulba was the villain for the first 2 episodes, and the gravitas that Tim Curry adds to the role is what makes him so threatening, even though it's a very first villain you see, and all you get to hear about is how tough of a villain he is rather than showing it. And you don't get to show you don't get to like make a convincing villain without showing it, unless you have someone like Tim who is delivering that ominous, like threatening aura. It's one reason why, like, I have my philosophy in animation is that you have a writer that provides the mind and you have a animator that provides the body, but the soul of the character has to be provided by the voice actor. Doesn't matter how well written it is. If it's not delivered correctly, if it's not the right person delivering it, it's not going to work. So you need a Tim Curry to make a situation like this work. And clearly did. You have one of the most enduring cartoons of the 90s. People still remember it, still won another round. I think every 3 or so years, there's like a rumor that they're doing a brand new Darkwing series. It never really amounts to anything. But if you don't deliver those first episodes correctly, that never happens. And yeah, thanks to Tim, it worked. It worked brilliantly. They brought him back for like 1 episode and he gets away. Darkwing doesn't beat him because he's upgraded. But that was also during the last season. We never got to see a follow-up to that, which is a shame. I would love to hear him more in that show. Played a lot of major, like, series-long villains, like Skullmaster from Mighty Max. Skullmaster is, again, very dark, very brooding, very intimidating. But a little bit more limited. A little bit more limited in screen time to try to keep his menace up, which I think is a good notion. But Tim Curry could play a menacing villain for an entire series. We do have a few of those here on the list, but there's one. I ordered these weirdly. So I wasn't thinking about it too much. I'm gonna highlight one, and it's a one-off episode villain, and it's from a weird cartoon called The Wild West Cowboys of Moo Mesa. Jacques Le Beef. Why do I bring up Jacques Le Beef in the middle of all this conversation about like major villains that he portrayed and how influential that they were for the series they were in? And now I'm bringing up this one episode character. He did a lot of one-off episodes, just to basically because the writers and the producers would love to have Tim Curry in the credits of their show. And Tim, down for pretty much anything from what I saw from his character list. Why do I bring this up? Because number one, I have the cartoons that run down at the toy shop on the TV all the time. I'm constantly kind of pumping the nostalgia into the shop. And one of the episodes that keeps out, I only have like 5 episodes of Cowboys of Moo Mesa in rotation. But the Jacques Le Beef episode is one of them. So it's one that I hear Tim's voice in a lot. But what amazes me about the role is that it's a character who is a charlatan. He's in disguise. He's essentially a snake oil salesman. And he's portraying this very fake character with a very very haughty, very like egotistical, very like holier than thou type. And he's putting on a French accent while he does it, while he's trying to be this suave bovine. But as soon as his cover is blown, he goes this much more nasally, whiny voice that also has the more like cowboy accent that you would expect from a show about cowboys, but it still sounds like Jacques Le Beef. And that is a talent You know, it is not, it is still connected and rooted to the first voice he did, even though you can tell, like, even though, like, if it was a different character, you would disregard it. If this was him in a different character in a different episode, you never would have connected the two. It's the fact that they're together, you can hear the similarities, not just because it's Tim Curry, because of the way he's portraying both sides. That's talent. That is talent. If we get into another one of the major villains, we have Dragonis from Mighty Ducks that I remember. Okay, talk about like carrying an entire series as the lead villain. Mighty Ducks absolutely qualifying. This is like a crazy cast for the villains. Have you ever looked at this? So you have four main villains, right? You have four main villains. You have Wraith, who is voiced by Tony J. And you know, that's Megabyte from Reboot. You know, that super deep, suave voice. You know, iconic villain voice of the 90s in cartoons. You have Clancy Brown as Sledge, the Heavy, and that's the voice of Lex Luthor. Okay, Superman's main villain. Again, a very lasting voice. You had Frank Welker, Megatron himself as Chameleon. And then at the lead of all of it is Dragonis, as played by Tim Curry. What a cast! Like, what a ridiculously stacked vocal cast. Like, you have like some of the most iconic animated villain voices of all time all together. And some of them, like Frank Welker, is, you know, like the greatest voice actor alive. You know, it's amazing. It was amazing. It was amazing to hear those four together. If you're an animation nerd, hearing those four together is incredible. Okay, I'm gonna touch before I get into my favorite roles of Tim. I mean, I put three at the back end of the video for a specific reason. I will touch on the Transformer fans who are still watching. Yes, he did play Dr. Morocco in uh Rescue Bots, one of the very few like pure villain characters in that show. And I really wish we had gotten him in, you know, like a proper series or movie. I would have loved to have heard him as an actual Transformer, but I am glad that, you know, he has actually touched this franchise that I love so much. So it's a brief inclusion, but I am glad he is included. So if we're talking about my favorite roles, the ones that stuck out to me the most, we have to go to Anton Savarius from Gargoyles. And I really wish he had more mad scientist roles. He would have made so many good mad scientists. But no, Savarius was always a really good villain to hear. I loved Tim's portrayal for him. Just egotistical and super intelligent at the same time. If we want to talk like the two top, oh my god, these, oh my god. So let's just discuss Tim Curry as Captain Hook in Fox's Peter Pan and the Pirates. Talk about chewing scenery. Dear God. Oh my god. If the scenery wasn't celluloid, he would have chewed it up and spit it out. So over the top. You can tell he is reveling in being this super cheesy depiction of Captain Hook. And it's such a good portrayal. It's probably my favorite Captain Hook across fiction. Yes, more than the Disney version. I think more than the yeah, probably like up there with like the one from Hook. Ironically enough, but no, like he's got a perfect voice for it. And again, not that, you know, he liked playing pirates apparently. But no, he played a fantastic villain to Peter. Me and my friend Mace will always parrot the boys line, like the delivery he had on boys. It's one of those like little audio stems that make us laugh. So you know, it's again one of our little ways that we're probably gonna remember him a lot. The first time we go to do that, we're just gonna have that little sad moment. Oh, have that sad moment after. I'm not looking forward to that. Okay, and then probably my favorite, that is Kilo Khan from Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad. He was more intimidating than Rita. At times, I think he was more intimidating than Lord Zed, especially after they softened Lord Zed, because he's barely too scary for the kids. But no, I again love the portrayal on this character. Like, he feels like a threat at all times, but he's not. He's one of those that feels threatening enough that he gets away with like being a little bit quippy and having jokes as well. And it's a weirdly rounded villain, considering like it is just a Power Ranger cash in knockoff type of thing. So it impresses me all the more that he put so much into it, and that the character is so entertaining. The character is so threatening, but can still be funny at the same time. Fantastic portrayal, yeah, and probably, and again, this is one of the shows that that runs at the toy shop, so I hear his voice as Kilo Khan a lot, probably more so than any of the other roles that we've brought up. And he was a lot of my childhood. He was a lot of my childhood. And I mean, there's a part like well, no, I was gonna go somewhere and that's the wrong thought too. No, we're gonna leave that. I really appreciate how anytime I saw him on TV, even after his medical episodes, that he was still making people laugh. Like, it seemed like even then when life was extremely cruel to him, he was um still trying so hard to just make everyone else happy, bring them joy, and I appreciate that sentiment. I really do. Like, that is a incredible spirit to have. Um so I will leave it off on this. I will leave off on this. I am going to just give you like a little advisement for the day. We lost Tim Curry and Dolly Parton 24 hours apart from each other. Both are some of the most beloved uh, LGBT allies, and that were also incredibly popular and well loved across the country, across the world. Um, so if you have a friend who identifies LGBT, check in on them. They've lost two of their major champions, and this week. Just make sure they're okay. Okay, do me that favor. Just do what Tim or Dolly would have done, and just like take care and love your the people around you. That's the best way to keep their memory alive, is to continue that spirit forward. So I am going to leave it at that. You feel free to discuss his work, his life, your memories of him in the comment section below. And thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.